Hi, this is Bob Doyle, creator of the Wealth Beyond Reason program and a feature teacher in the movie The Secret. However, like all the videos I post online, this is being done completely independently of anyone involved with The Secret movie, the website, the book, or anything at all directly related to the film. Still, as the movie gains more exposure, there are more and more questions being asked. And after I find myself answering the same questions over and over via email, it becomes obvious that making a video like this one that I can easily point people to, makes things a lot easier for everyone. So we're really fortunate to be living in a time that information about the law of attraction is making its way to the masses. The things that we're learning about quantum physics are helping to bring the principles out of strictly the New Age or so-called metaphysical circles and into the mainstream. Even with the advancements in our understanding of the scientific aspects of the law of attraction, there's still not enough traditional research and study to satisfy those who absolutely won't believe something until there are stacks of double-blind studies and the like to support the ideas being communicated. Now, throughout history, it's been the visionaries, the people who've been mocked and ridiculed, yet held their vision of what they've known to be true, who eventually have created the world's most significant breakthroughs in science and advancement. So the popularity of The Secret is really bringing the naysayers out. The mainstream media has always been among those who take a message like that in The Secret and immediately tried to discredit it. Now, this isn't true across the board, of course. In fact, The Secret being featured on the Oprah program twice in a week in a positive light is a major contributing factor to the explosion of the exposure the film and the book are getting. But alas, the more popular good news is, the more it's resisted by those whose job it seems to be to resist it. And you'll of course see this pattern throughout history, long before there was a media. Tell someone that their lives can be magical, even miraculous, and those bringing that news nearly always face the wrath of those who oppose such a notion. Now, luckily, most of today's messengers are not facing the same fate as with those a couple of thousand years ago, but in their way, there's very much a kill the messenger mentality going on. For me, it's not debatable, and the people who want to debate it will have their lifetime of resistance and detracted evidence to support their positions. Further, in a media situation, a person generally has about 30 seconds to answer any one question, and often the interviewer gets the last word and gets to skew the conversation however they need to support their position. Now look, I'm not faulting them for that. It's their job. My background is the media. I understand that they do what they do for a reason. In this area, however, I just choose not to play that game. My role is to facilitate the learning, understanding, and implementation of these principles to those who are in resonance with them, or at least open to understanding them if they don't quite yet. So trying to sway someone's opinion takes too much work. That's not to say that a person won't change their opinion after listening to what we have to say. It's just that our attention isn't on changing someone who doesn't want to be changed. That's just misdirected energy, and it takes me out of the flow of what I truly love to do. Of course, as I always say, by its very nature, if you don't believe in the law of attraction, you're going to attract all the evidence you need to support your position. And of course, the irony of that is that it's the law of attraction that's bringing you that evidence. But some people will never, ever going to see that because they don't want to see it. And they'll never be in vibrational resonance with seeing it, so they will literally resist any proof that's contrary to their position. This is why it's highly unlikely that we're going to see, at least anytime soon, any scientific studies on the law of attraction that are totally conclusive and satisfying to everyone. There are studies that prove that the outcome of experiments are often affected by those doing the observing. There's an older book called The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot that you might want to look at for all sorts of interesting studies along those lines. Because the law of attraction responds to an individual's vibration, you could take two scientists, give them the exact same set of test conditions in a law of attraction experiment, and they can attract completely different outcomes based on what they bring to the experiment vibrationally. If one knows the law of attraction to be the truth, and if they have no or very little resistance in the key areas that are likely going to be affected by such resistance in a test condition, they will attract quite different results than a person who has a tremendous amount of resistance to these ideas, because they can only each allow into their experience those things with which they're in vibrational resonance. Perhaps the day will come when, just as the reality of the Earth being round finally was able to be proven scientifically, though it was just a crazy thought for quite some time, that science will find a way to prove the law of attraction enough to satisfy virtually everyone. Now, the other challenge that the law of attraction teachers are facing, should they so choose to face it, is that there are large numbers of people who have somehow made this a religious issue. Or more accurately, they believe that the law of attraction and the teaching of it somehow negates or opposes their theological viewpoints, whatever they may be. And I hate to put it so bluntly, but these people simply aren't listening to what's being said. They're taking the message that we can live our lives by design, and they construe that to mean that we're taking God or whomever they have their religious faith in out of the equation, which precisely the opposite is true. It is true that in the Wealth Beyond Reason program, for example, we don't use the term God, and that's out of respect for those who don't resonate with religion or who use different terminology to refer to whatever force created this universe. But this does not in any way mean that learning about and embracing the law of attraction as a real force in our lives dishonors this creator. In fact, the opposite is true. What better way to honor the creator than to use the gifts that we've been given to the fullest extent possible? To use a somewhat silly example, it would be like my giving my son a set of building blocks and then having him not use them to create anything because he felt like it was my job to do all the creating. When in fact, I want him to use the blocks to express himself creatively, which is why I gave them to him in the first place. Okay, it was a silly example, but hopefully you get the point. But to speak to those who do have a problem with this message because they think we're bypassing God or not giving credit where credit is due, I want to say this. All of this is only possible because of the creative force that put all this into place. It's the utmost honoring of this force to be who we are and to use what we've been given. Perhaps all people don't do this honoring the same way, but to be who we are and to follow our natural sense of purpose and passion is, in my opinion, the most powerful honoring one can do. We, as law of attraction teachers, are simply teaching about one very powerful law that the creator of this universe, whoever or whatever that is, has put into place. Further, it's a law that allows us to fully experience our existence as human beings to its fullest potential. And do you not think that is the intention of the source of this creation? Why else would we have desires and imagination and dreams if not to pursue and eventually realize them? And it's through the infinite intelligence of this creator that all of this becomes possible. There's not one thing that the law of attraction teachers teach, myself included, that goes against most traditional theological teachings. There are always what I would call extremists in virtually any theology, and again, they're simply not going to hear what I'm saying and they're going to stick with their beliefs, and that's fine. I'm not trying to change anyone's faith because I think of what we're doing as completely independent of any religious faith whatsoever. It's as if we were explaining gravity, another law put into place by this creative force, which we needn't fully understand or believe in to have it be an inescapable part of our existence. Law of attraction is, at least in this time in our history, a much different kind of law because it does open up a tremendous amount of personal power in our lives, where before we may not have seen it. And of course, there are many reasons why over the years we've been cut off from this knowledge, which is why in the movie The Secret, why it was called The Secret in the first place. It's not that we're teaching something that no one has ever known. But the fact is, the vast majority of people do not know how the law of attraction is working in their lives. So we're at a very interesting time in our history. The word is getting out, and people are either embracing it, considering it, or outright rejecting it. And this is the way of things. My hope is that it will resonate with as many people as possible so that we can all begin realizing that we are put here to explore our passions, contribute our greatest value to the universe around us, thus furthering our collective advancement as human beings, because we've been given great gifts and unbounded potential in a truly abundant universe. And now, finally, the understanding of how to make all of this a reality in our lives is upon us. If it's not a message that resonates with you, or if you have a level of resistance to that level of freedom, then I sincerely invite you to be okay with that for yourself. But I also ask you to consider the true value of ridiculing, mocking, or naysaying something that is so clearly having a positive impact on our world, even if it's not your version of the world that it's impacting.